Rebel religion in the news.
All right, good morning on this September 11th, 2025, the 24th anniversary of the terrorist attacks on the United States. We're going to talk about that today with Pastor Alfredo Romero of Rock of Life Fellowship and Bishop Peter Hansen of St. Augustine Anglican Church. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, September 11th, do we need to keep talking about September 11th? Is there a point kind of like, I think with Pearl Harbor would be the best comparison, where we say, okay, we don't mention Pearl Harbor, every Sunday,
December 7th.
December 7th, the Sunday of every, during that week period. Do we need to still talk about it in the churches? If so, why? And if not, why not?
Well, the lessons of December 7th and Pearl Harbor are a lot different than the ones of Al-Qaeda coming and secretly plotting a terrorist attack in our country, fostered by a foreign power, but done right here. It was the largest terrorist attack in world history, period, and still remains so. And it was a crime that seemed to very clearly psychologically read us in terms of our safety and self-preservation and belief. And it was interesting that it only took 45 minutes for us to come up with a solution to a terrorist attack that attacks a plane with box cutters and penknives, which was shown in the flight that landed on the ground in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Those people on board realized what this really meant, and they realized that their lives were forfeit, and the only thing they could do is save some thousands of people somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And they did it. 45 minutes it took for us to come up with a plan. Mm-hmm. I think that was wonderful. And there's even a movie that's been made for that flight.
Yeah.
Flight 94, was it?
I think it was. Can't remember the flight number.
Yeah. But if we talk about it, we run the risk of being religious bigots or seen as such, because this was an Islamist attack on our native people. It struck at the heart of our financial centers and marketing in New York City, and our military might in the Pentagon. And what would the fourth building been, do you suppose?
They were saying it might have been in the White House, or it could have been the Capitol
I think
building.
it was the Capitol building.
The White House or the Capitol would be my suspicion. Yeah.
It was Flight 93, by the way.
93.
Okay.
Flight 93.
Yeah, it was famous for one of the gentlemen was talking to his wife, and the big thing he'd always say was, let's roll. Whenever he had to do something, and he was talking to the other passengers on the plane, and the last thing his wife heard on the phone was, okay, let's roll. And they went and they, counterattacked the terrorists, and unfortunately the plane did go down. But what an amazing, and even the Lord says, what better thing to do than lay down your life for a friend? I mean,
yeah, we're here in Chico, California. There was actually one of the passengers on that flight was a Chico girl named Nicole Miller.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people don't know that. In fact, there's a bench in Bidwell Park with her name on it and honoring her. A lot of people are not aware of that. It's Nicole Miller. I would suggest you look it up sometime.
It's a day that changed all of our lives. We all remember where we were when we saw the first live feed on the video. Mm-hmm. And, the whole TSA going on in the airports these days, and our giving up our privacy to inspectors and being x-rayed and checked out. And we welcome it, because we sure don't want that to happen again. And they've caught some people who had some terror implements with them since then.
In fact, I want to make sure I clean up everything. Nicole Carroll Miller was a Chico native and Flight 93 victim. When the plane she was on crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Nicole Miller is remembered in Chico with a memorial bench located. I want to tell you where it is if you want to visit it today, because many people go and visit this. It's located in Lower Bidwell Park off Ellen Rosa Avenue at Madrone Avenue, if you know where that is at. People actually place flowers and photos in her honor every September 11th. So if you want to do that and pay respects to Nicole Miller, she was a college student from San Jose with a scholarship to Chico State. She was known for her positive attitude, heroic efforts to regain control of the plane along with other passengers. So if there is going to be a service today at 10 o'clock over at Fire Station 5 in Chico, and there they actually have some of the building there. I don't know if you're aware of it, if you've never been, the building from 9/11, from one of the towers. They have a slab of the concrete, and they've made a beautiful, very, very humble kind of monument to it. And so it's at 10 o'clock today over at Fire Station 5. And again, if you want to go visit Nicole Carol Miller, visit the bench located in Lower Bidwell Park off Ellen Rosa Avenue and Madrone Avenue. You know, a lot of people don't realize that, and it's a I hate to say a nice local story.
Yeah.
It makes it an interesting local story because it has when you have somebody, because I got to know their family really well, the parents of the girl, we got to know them pretty well, my wife and I, and they were just they were deep rooted Christians, and their faith is what persevered them through life. And they're both gone now, and it'd be a nice message to drop some flowers off to those people.
As a
Yeah.
new police chaplain back in the early anniversaries of that, they had called me over for the services that they had at the Fire Station 5.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So it's 10 o'clock today, Fire Station 5. One of the things we did talk about earlier in the week, and I think a lot of young people might not be aware of this, but after the attacks that day, the senators, Republicans, Democrats, congressmen, they all came out onto the steps of the Capitol and saying, "God bless America." And I don't mean this to be sarcastic in any way. I don't mean it to be. But could we imagine something like that happening if this happened again? Do you think that's possible that would happen?
Right today, no.
I don't think it would either.
No.
They can't agree on what day it is of the week.
It's a
Right.
big blame game now. It's their fault, his fault.
Within, I would say within 10 hours. No, sooner than that. Within 4 hours. If this happened again, God forbid, if this ever happened again, within 4 to 5 hours, people would be pointing fingers who's to blame. And I'm not exaggerating. I think within 4 to 5 hours, that's when it would start.
I don't think it would take that long.
But you might be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the biggest memories I have, because, I grew up in Hawaii, and because obviously December 7th, 1941 was a big memorial that day, a memoriam, and there was always events, and our school would always do something, and there's a large Japanese population in Hawaii, obviously. But we were friends with a Pearl Harbor survivor by the name of Herb Weatherwax, and he was one of the last Pearl Harbor survivors. He died a few years ago, but he was able to, because he was a member of the Elks Lodge where my dad and my brother-in-law belonged to. So they were friends with Herb Weatherwax. You look him up, by the way. He has an amazing story, Herb Weatherwax, and we called him Uncle Herb. And he loved my daughter, just loved my daughter. So we went on a Pearl Harbor tour with him. We were with him. My daughter, he had a little trouble walking, so my daughter held his hand, and she was about 16 at the time. And he gave us a personal tour of Pearl Harbor and the memorial. And at Pearl Harbor, they have this kind of like this map, topographical map. And all these people around him, he was saying, this is where the planes came from, and here where I was, and this was where the Arizona Memorial, where the Arizona was. And he gave us, and we heard it, and they called us, and we heard the alarms, and we ran from our barracks. It was just an amazing moment in my life I'll never forget.
One of the things I regret when I was a young man, I wish I'd asked my father and mother more things about history, about what they remembered, for instance, when John F. Kennedy was shot and killed. Tell me where you were at. I was just born, and tell me what it was like in the household. What did you and Mom talk about? What did you guys think? What were you feeling? Where were you in that? I never asked any of those questions.
Yeah.
I wish I had. I wish I had asked them. So, what did you think about, other key moments when the Cuban Missile Crisis? Were you afraid that we were going to go to war? What was it like? Tell me. What was it like during the Civil Rights Movement when Martin Luther King got shot? What were you thinking when Bobby Kennedy? I didn't ask anything like that. I didn't ask him a thing.
You can ask me.
Right. I could ask you. Right. You were old enough to probably remember.
Okay.
But it's one thing, and so I would say, to young people, if you're out there, talk to your parents and ask them about history. And so, I encourage my kids to say, and maybe as a parent, you say, let me tell you what happened on this day. Let me tell you what it was like. Let me tell you what the country was afraid of. We thought we were people forget that, there was no plane activity for a week. I don't think any planes were allowed in the air for like about at least 5 to 7 days.
9/11?
Yeah.
Yeah, they grounded
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that happened. You look back on it, you go, wow. All the baseball games stopped. Gone. No more, no baseball. No sporting events. Everything just stopped. It was like COVID, but much worse than that, much more serious than that.
My boss called us up. I was working for a major company at the time, and he sent a personal message to everybody. And he said, look, if you need to take the day off, don't come into work for a couple of days if you need to. We don't know if some of you had family members but we had the rest of the week off from work because it was that traumatic for every American. And I mentioned at another show, but there was no Democrat, Republican, independent, whatever. Everybody just kind of binded together. We felt very, in a weird way, we felt very patriotic. What? They attacked us? It was that kind of a thing. So it was amazing.
Did you ever read The Harbinger by Jonathan Cahn?
Yes. I had a copy once.
Deep and interesting book. Study
Yes.
of these things.
Tell me about it.
Well, he sees spiritual icons happening throughout that whole period of time, showing a direction that we should take and maybe didn't take. We kept saying we'll rebuild and taking the pride. We'll be inconquerable. We'll be back. But the kind of things you want to encourage yourself to do. But it wasn't taking any spiritual humility in the face of that. But interestingly enough, when the towers fell, they fell in such a way that the outburst from that falling, that violent act, hit this tree, and the tree protected this little chapel, and the chapel was the chapel in which George Washington took his oaths of office
Wow.
as first president.
What's the book called again?
The
Harbinger.
Harbinger.
And it's based on all
Oh, yeah.
9/11 only?
Well, mostly.
Mostly.
Yeah.
We got to take a break. We'll be right back here on Rebel Religion in the News. Stick around.
Rebel religion in the news.
The Catholic Church this week, I'm going to switch gears here for a second. The
Okay.
Catholic Church is having its first millennial saint. They had it this past Sunday, called God's Influencer. A teenager, a 15-year-old Italian boy who loved video games and coding will be declared a saint. Well, he was declared a saint this past Sunday.
Yeah.
The first millennial to receive the title. Carlo Acutis, who died of leukemia in 2006, gained international attention after Pope Francis referred to him as God's influencer. He has become known among Catholics as the patron saint of the internet. So he was, anyway, they go into the detail of his history, but he created a digital catalog of Eucharistic miracles that was translated into 20 languages and remains widely used. He also created websites for parishes and Catholic organizations, while limiting his own screen time to just an hour of gaming per week. So apparently he also engaged in a couple of miracles that are attributed to him. This seems to be an effort, and I'm not saying, and I don't want to make it sound like it's a negative thing, but trying to draw more young people into the Roman Catholic Church. Is that how you read it too?
I did. I read the whole thing, and I saw some news stories on it. Some of the theory is the Catholic Church is disconnecting from the youth. They thought, well, I'm not saying this is what the theorists might say, that the Catholics are trying to bring in the youth, especially the gamers, the internet person. But there was 2 miracles needed to be verified to become a saint. One of them was somehow, as he was sick, his mother, I believe, was healed. And then there was a young girl that had seen his body, and she was healed from a rare disease. That's what they claim. So that's the 2 miracles that he was attributed to. He seemed to be a brilliant young man. So no matter what, it just seems a life cut short at 16 to leukemia is very sad. He was brilliant as a coder. And so I give him, respect for that.
Is there some sort of, gosh, I don't want to sound jaded. I don't mean to do that. But is there sort of because all churches have a certain public relations aspect to it. I mean, I think even your churches, you're trying to get people to come to church, and there's a certain PR element to it.
Oh, yeah.
Could that be part of what's happening here, Bishop? Or Am I being too jaded in suggesting that?
Well, the Catholic Church attributing sainthood to certain people becomes its sort of its own sort of publicity idea. I'm not saying that askance, but the definition of a saint is somebody who gets to heaven. Everybody who gets to heaven is a saint, by a sort of the common definition. Now, in terms of having a calendar day and being attributed sainthood and beatification from the Roman Church, takes these special requirements and they want to make them exemplars. Say, look to this person, and maybe some people will pray to them for their prayers, or try to use them as inspiration for a life better lived than what we're doing. And so, yeah, they are putting this person up to view, not as solo saint, but as an exemplar of something to do. And yeah, I'd say for the millennials, for the younger people than somebody dying of old age, a person like this gets to be an example of how you can live a saintly life and still be a kid.
Well, when you put it that way, it sounds very good. There's some people, though, that would say, we're all saints. I know the Protestant faith believes that everybody who's a believer is a saint.
Everyone who goes to heaven gets to say saint in front of their name.
Okay.
Saint Jerry.
St. Jerry.
That's a nice ring to it, at least
Saint
as far as I'm
Alfredo.
concerned.
Is your real name Gerald or Jerry?
It's Jerry.
Jerry. Okay, St. Jerry.
But the middle name is David, so, maybe I'm kind of there.
Patron saint of the podcast.
Saint JD.
Saint JD, yeah. Me and JD Vance, I guess, yeah.
Right.
So anyway, I thought that was interesting. I in the Catholic churches, I was watching. You have like less than a minute left, but I was watching Monday Night Football, and Peyton Manning and Eli Manning have this thing where they talk during the game. And
Yeah.
they're pretty good. Apparently, they had sent. I guess they sent a text to Pope Leo to try to get him to come on their show and be a guest on their show, because they always bring in, like, Bill Murray was on because he's from Chicago. We could get the Pope on, and then Peyton Manning shows this big letter. Look, I said, Holy Father, we really want you on the show. We have a great show. We're really popular here, and he never answered either.
Never
one of them.
answered.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's what I do know. No matter what, we are to look to Christ. We're to look to Jesus. There's no mediator. He's the cornerstone. He's the Savior. So nobody gets to the Father except through Him. So that's
Right.
my focus.
Oh, that's true.
All right. Thank you so much, Pastor,
Saint
Bishop.
Jerry.
Bishop, yeah, Bishop
Jerry.
Peter Hansen, future Saint Peter Hansen. 10 o'clock on Salem Street. Service time at St. Augustine Church. We're out of time. Take good care.
Not Peter the Second Pope.
Right, not that one.
That's dangerous.
Take good care, everyone. Bye-bye.